Harvard says that you, the taxpayer, should pay for a bunch of its programs. You should pay for their professors and their administrators and their students, even though they have billions and billions of dollars of their own money. Well, in a good move, Trump said, no more.
The Trump administration canceling all these remaining government contracts with Harvard, $100 million worth.
So what you're saying, Wolf, is that the taxpayers are saving $100 million. Excellent.
Yeah, it's a lot of money there, and those are the remaining federal grants. So essentially,
not as much as the $52 billion endowment that this private university enjoys.
what we know is that the administration is expected at any moment, as soon as this afternoon, to send a letter to federal agencies telling them to cancel all of their existing federal contracts with Harvard. But it actually goes further than that. It tells them to not consider Harvard, but consider other options in the future instead of Harvard, which would effectively kill the entire grant program with the federal government. Now, I want to read.
Now, we have one problem with this. Now, of course, Harvard has led the way in the discriminatory DEI sort of thing. And so it deserves special attention and, frankly, special pain. However, Harvard shouldn't be, the only one where this is happening. Pretty much all the universities, that are discriminating against people unlawfully should, pay the price.
Part of the letter that CNN obtained, this is what's expected to go out. It says, we recommend that your agency terminate for convenience each contract that it determines has failed to meet its standards and transition to a new vendor. It says, going forward, we also encourage your agency to seek alternative vendors for future services where you had previously considered Harvard. Agencies have time, but just until June 6th to respond with what cancellations they have actually done. And remember, Wolf, as you guys have just noted, this is just the latest in an ongoing escalation. I want to take a look at what we have seen from the White House, from the administration when it comes to Harvard, really for the last month here, starting back in April 14th.
There have been a number of things that we've taken issue with Trump on. There are a bunch of things. Thomas Massey being one, for instance, okay, and the big beautiful bill's got lots of problems with it. But I will say, Trump taking Harvard to task, which Harvard in many respects is a deeply crony organization, okay? It is incredibly wealthy. It is incredibly powerful, but it is a private organization. And it thinks that just by virtue of the fact that it is Harvard, that it should be funded by taxpayers like you and me. And that is incorrect.
$2.2 billion in grants April 15th. They threatened Harvard's tax-exempt status. April 17th, they demanded international student records. May 13th, they froze another $450 million in funding. May 22nd, they moved to bar international students. May 26th.
Okay, generally speaking, we have no beef with international students, okay? They are cash cows for these universities, okay? These kids typically come from very, very wealthy families, or they're backed by governments, either in the Middle East or China or whatever, and they mean a lot of money to Harvard. And frankly, if Harvard wasn't taking taxpayer money, there would be no question at all. We actually don't think that the whole foreign student thing is worth the time. But we should focus on the fact that Harvard should not be getting a dime from U.S. taxpayers, period.
They considered redirecting $3 billion from Harvard to trade schools. And then, of course, May 27th, we're here where we are expecting this White House to send this letter, the GSA, General Services Administration, to send this letter to federal agencies to cut those remaining federal contracts. So clearly an escalation here. Of course, as we know, Wolf, the administration has accused Harvard of having liberal bias, of allowing anti-Semitic behavior on campuses, among other things.
Frankly, if it wasn't grifting off the U.S. taxpayer, who cares? They can do whatever the heck they want. There are universities who issue federal funds, so they can do what they want. And if Harvard would just be the private, extremely wealthy university that it is, instead of taking from the taxpayers, most of the taxpayers who could never afford in a million years to send their kids to Harvard. And not only that, Harvard would probably flat out discriminate against them anyway. Sorry. Harvard, get with the program.